Okay, so before this video gets started, you guys remember the bracket video that I did last week. A lot of you guys really enjoyed making it. It's one of my favorite videos that I've made in a while, and I want to make some more of them. The problem is I can't really find any brackets anywhere online that people have already done. So what I need from you guys is, if you want to, make me a bracket about anything about the NBA. It can be role players, it can be players over 30, it can be the past handful of championship teams in the NBA. Whatever it is, make a bracket. There's plenty of bracket making tools online, and send it to me over on Twitter or on Instagram, and I'll take a look and probably try and use it in a video if the bracket is any good. I want to do more of those, but it's hard to find ones that are completed, so I need you guys to help me out there. Okay, with that said, welcome back everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, we're doing some NBA Would You Rathers over here on Instagram. And for whatever reason, people don't really do these anymore, but I think they're really fun. I think there's definitely some interesting ones to look through here, and we're gonna go and jump right into it, beginning with one that I'd like to say I know the answer to this for me personally, but the more I think about it, the more I think I might be going the other direction, right? So it's, would you rather break someone's ankles and miss the game winner, or get crossed up but end up winning the game? I'd like to think that I would be someone that would be okay with getting crossed up but end up winning the game. But on the other hand, like, I don't know, this is kind of tough. I think I'm going to end up going B, but there is this part of me in the back of my head if I'm just saying that or if I actually mean it. I don't know, but I think I'm going to end up going B. Next up now for an actual basketball related one. Would you rather have Kemba Walker or a healthy John Wall? And this is a really interesting question. Let's play this out a little bit, because Kemba fits a little bit better on a team that doesn't need him to do everything, right? Like this current Celtics team that he's on right now, he can play on or off the ball because he's a better shooter than John Wall, can play make, can score, but doesn't need to have the ball in his hands a ton to be effective. Can do things, plenty of things on the ball, but again, can play off the ball better than John Wall can. But from an athleticism standpoint, from what they could be as defenders, John Wall isn't always a great defender, but he has the tools to be a good defender. That's definitely an advantage for Wall. The problem is he kind of needs to have the ball in his hands to be effective. Kind of surprisingly, I think I'm going John Wall here. It depends a little bit on the situation though, because like if you're on a team that has other guys that can make plays, then you'd rather have Kemba. But if you have a team that's just built around John Wall's ability to make plays, get in the paint, attack off ball screens, I'd rather have him. I think overall, I'm probably going to go John Wall here, but it's not an easy call at all for me. Here's an interesting one. Would you rather have D'Angelo Russell or De'Aaron Fox? For me, it's tough. It's a little bit similar to the Kemba thing, not to such an extreme, but it's a little bit similar to the Kemba John Wall thing, because I think D'Lo is a little bit better on or off the ball, a little bit better off ball shooter than De'Aaron Fox. He's improving at those things, but he's a little bit more of a guy that needs to have the ball in his hands to be effective. I think as a player, though, I think I'd rather have De'Aaron Fox. He's a little bit younger, a better athlete, someone that can get to the rim, get to the free throw line, and that's the one thing that's kind of held back D'Angelo Russell's offensive game in terms of being a little bit more efficient. Not that De'Aaron Fox is wildly efficient. He still has some improvements to be made as well, but D'Lo just can't get to the rim or to the free throw line nearly well enough to have a complete game offensively, and I think it's very, very close, but I think I would rather have De'Aaron Fox. Next up now, would you rather have a prime Derrick Rose or a prime Steph Curry? For me, I'm going to go Steph, and I completely understand the arguments for both, and Derrick Rose had a really, really good MVP season before he got hurt, was an outstanding athlete, could get to the rim whenever he wanted to, did a ton of things for those Bulls teams. I just think that Curry is so unique in his skill set, and he affects the defense more with what he can do, and just kind of fits the way the league is a little bit more now. Not that prime Derrick Rose wouldn't absolutely dominate the league right now. I just think that Curry is more transformational. I think he's more impactful. I think that what he does messes with the defense more and will elevate the players around him more than prime Derrick Rose. And I understand all the benefits of having someone like Derrick Rose that can get to the rim and finish at the rim pretty much whenever he wants. I would rather have the shooting, though, of Steph because of how it impacts the other players and because he just fits with other players better in an overall standpoint, just because he can shoot off the ball, and Rose can shoot off the ball, but obviously not to the same level at all as Steph. This is a really, really interesting one. Would you rather be a bench warmer in the NBA or the best EuroLeague player? Okay, so there's two sides to this, right? Obviously, if you're in the NBA at least, right, and there's some perks to that, and you presumably make some significant amount of money, obviously not by NBA standards, but you're still set for life. You have a 10-year career in the NBA. You're going to be fine money-wise, right? Not that people in the EuroLeague don't make a good amount of money as well, but I'm just trying to kind of play this out a little bit. For me personally, I know that being in the States is my comfort zone, and so being overseas would not be ideal for me. I think it would be interesting and it would be, you know, this nice experience, but I'd want to be closer to my family, closer to people that I know better, and being in the States is definitely a comfort zone for me. And so I think I would rather be a bench warmer in the NBA, but I mean, I understand the draw of wanting to be the best EuroLeague player and, you know, the prestige that comes along with that. And I don't want to downplay that at all. Just for me in my own comfort zone, I would rather be a bench warmer in the NBA than the best EuroLeague player, even though that sounds kind of strange to say out loud. I think that's where I would be at. Okay, here's a really interesting one. Would you rather see Kevin Durant back on Oklahoma City or Kawhi back on the Spurs? And it's interesting, right? Because both these guys were wildly successful on those teams. Kawhi, you know, won a championship with the Spurs. Durant made a finals with the Thunder. But I would rather see, if we're assuming that we're talking about going back to when they were on those teams, and you're talking about Durant and Westbrook and Harden all on the same team, I'd much rather see that. If we're talking about right now, I think I still would pick Durant because of the pieces that they have in Oklahoma City with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and pieces like that. Durant would fit right in, as he would on any team. But I think that would be a more interesting team to watch than Kawhi on the Spurs. No disrespect to the Spurs, but objectively, the Thunder are more interesting than the Spurs are to me right now. And so adding in someone like Kevin Durant to that situation would be really, really interesting. And so on both fronts, whether it's right now or going back to when they were on those teams, I think I would pick Durant both times. Okay, here we go. Would you rather win a ring on a minimum contract or a max contract with the lowest seed? I'm assuming that just means the lowest seed in the league, maybe not in the postseason. I get both sides here, and I get the prestige of winning an NBA championship, but when you're talking about max contract money compared to minimum, you're talking about like 30-something million versus like, you know, 800,000. That's, I mean, $800,000 is still a ton of money. But when you're talking about that much of a difference, I understand the prestige of winning a ring. But I mean, a difference of over $30 million is tough to pass up for me personally, right? Like, for some people, maybe the prestige of winning the ring would be worth more, but I don't have to, like, let's just say in this hypothetical situation, this is the only year that I get to be in the NBA. This is the only situation that gets to happen. If I'm going to get $30 million out of it, I'd rather have $30 million than an NBA championship ring. I'm just saying, like, that's me personally, and everybody has their own priorities, but when I'm looking at this, it's not really all that close to me, at least. All right, this is going to be a controversial one. Would you rather build around Trae Young, John Collins, or De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley? And this is tough because I don't love either of the big guys here. Like John Collins, I just think positionally doesn't have a great fit. Really good athlete, but he's just not big enough to defend fives full time. And I understand that he can space the floor, but I don't think that's going to be a sustainable role for him long term. And I think ideally you want to have another floor spacing big on the floor with him, which kind of negates the whole point, right? On the other hand, Marvin Bagley, we just haven't seen enough of him to really have a full evaluation on him. And defensively, when he was at Duke, he was so bad that they had to go ahead and play zone. And so I question his impact on the defensive end. I'm going to go with the Sacramento guys, and I know how good Trae Young is, but I don't think that the gap between him and De'Aaron Fox is all that big, even if you think that Trae Young is a better player than De'Aaron Fox, which honestly I think is arguable, and I know that's a big statement. I honestly think that that is an arguable thing. If you do think that there's a significant gap between Trae Young and De'Aaron Fox, I don't think it's that big. And then I think the potential of Marvin Bagley long-term is higher than John Collins. He has the size to where theoretically he can defend. I just think that it's a physical thing that John Collins is never really going to be able to be a very good defender of the five, whereas Marvin Bagley can be long-term. So I think I would rather have the guys in Sacramento, but it's not an easy choice in my opinion. Okay, here we go. Would you rather see LeBron in the 90s or Jordan in the 10s? I think that the comparison between what LeBron looked like in the 2010s and what Jordan would look like in the 2010s, I feel like that would be a much more interesting comparison, because I think that especially the latter half of the latter, I always get that mixed up. The later part of the 2010s, I feel like is so much different than any other era of NBA basketball. And the 90s are certainly a little bit unique and a little bit different, but they're similar to some previous eras and previous decades. And I just feel like this part of the NBA that we're in right now, in the last 5 or 6 years of it, is so much different. It doesn't really have much of a historical comparison in terms of all of the threes that are being taken, all of the spacing, all those things, which really began around 2014, 2015. So I'd be interested to see that kind of comparison for Jordan in that environment and see what kind of scorer he would be, how much of an impact defender he would be, all those different things. And I'm not here to argue what he would look like. I'm just saying I think it would be more interesting to see him in kind of this era than LeBron back then. One, because I think the basketball is more entertaining, and two, I think it's such a more unique play style compared to the rest of the years that the NBA has been a thing, that it would just, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. It would provide a more accurate comparison and a more defined comparison between the two, rather than just saying, okay, LeBron's in the 90s, that's when Jordan played. Like having MJ play in the exact same, environment that LeBron played in, that's so unique compared to other eras, I think would be a lot more interesting. All right, last one here. Would you rather be the owner of the Cavs or the Hornets? So I would be excited about the possibility of owning an NBA team, obviously. But if I'm given a choice out of all the teams and then I have to pick between these two, I'm not especially excited about either of them. I mean, I guess the Hornets because, it's North Carolina, it's where I'm from. I guess I would pick them, and they do have some interesting players like, Devontae Graham, PJ Washington, potentially Terry Rozier down the road. And the Cavs do have Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, but I guess I'm a little bit more confident in the roster in Charlotte. I guess I would pick the Hornets, but I'm really struggling to have a strong opinion on this because I'm honestly not especially excited about either of these options, but I guess I would go Hornets here. And yeah, there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. And of course, if you have any suggestions for your own would you rathers, then leave those down in the comment section below, and I'll absolutely take a look if I feel like doing another one of these videos. But yeah, I will see you all next time.